Hey, welcome to This Weekend Moto from around the world. This episode's actually brought to you by Magic Mind. This is a performance vitality shot that is going to help sharpen your mind, have calmer energy, and it's going to lower stress. My link is in the description. These guys are actually really, really good. So much that I could use it. So, we are talking about what is going on. And yeah. I know there's been lots of issues with KTM, and seems like there's more issues with Stark. But this one's kind of like a little bit of a controversy, because if you know anything about me, I'm all about innovation, and I love innovation because it brings on competition. And unfortunately, the Stark Varg, you either love it or you hate it. And most of the outlets seem to not like it as much as far as racing goes. So that is a decent segue to let's look at what was going on. The biggest news here is you have the legend Taddy with Enduro, and he ends up terminating his contract. And what's his excuse? His excuse is that the bike malfunctioned and it went whiskey throttle, and it hit another rider. But if we watch his throttle hand. To me, look at it. Oh, to me, that looked like his elbow dropped and he wheelied into his competitor. And of course, he's upset about it because that was a dirty move. That was so much of a dirty move. He should be disqualified for that sort of content or conduct, right? But to me, that was not a bike malfunction. That was 1,000%. Yeah, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. Yeah, a lot of you guys are saying it's not as cool as gas, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, it's, in my opinion, it's better technology. However, it's not there yet. Watch his elbow. Oh, that was straight up intentional. Straight up intentional. Well, what does he do? He terminates his contract. He terminates it, and his excuse is that the bike malfunctioned. But I think it goes on more to there. Yeah, okay, there's cookies on the website. He was doing really well in the Enduro Cross. I believe, was he the guy that ended up getting Stark their first win? Anyway, somebody in the comments, let me know. And what I believe is going on is the Stark Varg, after they started doing well, they started being hit with severe restrictions. And he was very open about these restrictions because he was starting to do well on it. That, hey, this is open racing. And we all know the Stark has 80 effing horsepower that, probably nobody could use besides the likes of probably Tomac, right? Most guys can't even use 55 horsepower of a 450. So why jump that guy up? And somebody being vocal about riding a Stark, as soon as I hit 80 horsepower, my butthole puckered and I was like, nope, can't, nope. Set this sucker down to 60. Cannot do it. Will not. Nope. So, yes, is it a competitor advantage? Absolutely. But let's be honest here. What equates to having a advantage? And I would say most factories, right? They've got lots of resources for R&D. They've got lots of money, and their factory ECUs, they've got lots of testing for it. So when you bring a new manufacturer in, they're, in my opinion, right, not that it's taken as fact, is they're sort of struggling to make ends meet because they're not a renowned household. I mean, look at KTM Giant, right? They just sold off Augusta after they bought it like 6 months ago. And, ironically, they just had their, Augusta just had their 80th anniversary, right? And they're back on their own after being bought and then let go from KTM. Anyway, that's kind of interesting. But my point being is that in order for them to be competitive, they have a competitive advantage with the amount of horsepower, right? But if all of a sudden everyone says, hey, this is what you have to use, you can't go over 40 or whatnot, now you're racing against factory bikes that have factory ECUs that don't necessarily need to make 60, 80 plus horsepower. They have so much usable power with their factory ECUs. So in my opinion, it's unfair. right? And so FIM added more restrictions to the bikes for the world championships. And that's when Taddy was like, nope, see ya, deuces, I am out. But it's not a good look. It is not a good look for Stark to have somebody of the caliber of Taddy and have him ditch, have him ditch. And yeah, a lot of you guys are saying no clutch, no noise, not a real bike. Yes, I mean, you will definitely say, yeah, I agree. When I was at A1 and seeing the 2-stroke with just with Lesher, that thing was awesome to smell the burnt oil, and it was just cool, right? So that was something that I grew up on. I grew up on 2-strokes ever since I was on a little 50cc. It wasn't until I was transitioning between a super mini to a big bike, it was like, do I go for a 125 or do I go for the 250F? Well, I decided to go for the 250F being 15 years old because looking at the data, this bike makes more horsepower. It definitely is not more cost prohibited, because it's more expensive, especially when the top end goes kabooey. It's not $800, it's $2,500, right? But this is the next rendition of our sport. It's the next evolution is electric, unfortunately. I mean, yeah, yes, I will get slammed for all that, for blah, da, 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 da. And hey, what's up, dude? I effing love what you are doing on the Supercrosses. This is the dude that is control of the drone, and he doesn't get enough credit because of the sheer fact that this is a premier operator when it comes to the drones. I've driven a drone and crashed it right away. So power to him for doing what he does for the sport. Talking with the sport, they ended up hiring him, and he does an absolute job. So terrific for you. Just wanted to point that out there. And yeah, I've ridden the Stark a few times, and I personally like the Stark. I do. I love it. A, because it's fast as fuck, and 2, I don't have to do really any maintenance on it, right? Like, there is no change in the oil. There's no change in the air filter. I got to make sure my chain is tight. My forks aren't leaking, all that mumbo jumbo, and tires and sprockets, but no top end, no, cam chains getting loose, none of that BS, right? So for that, I really like it. And hey, appreciate it, dude. Thanks for joining the live show. And you can only use so much power on the track. Yes. But if I'm going from 1,000-foot overview, what is happening is it's not so much the FIM. I believe, again, don't take this as fact, but I believe FIM was getting pressure from all the other manufacturers, because for the longest time, Stark has been struggling with even being allowed to race, right? Like, let's look at the 2-strokes for right now. Why in the hell can't a 252-stroke race against other 250Fs? Why does it have to be at a disadvantage in the 450 class? We know that bike is not as fast. It doesn't make as usable power. It's harder to ride, and it's much slower. So you're like guaranteed a bad start. So any privateer that's racing a 252-stroke is just for a nostalgia deal and maybe get some better props because they're doing so. But truthfully, and even in amateur motocross, I believe you can race the 252-stroke against other 250Fs. I know I did it when I was racing, and that bike was hard to ride because you're surfing on top of the dirt, where a 4-stroke is a tractor. You're in there making power. You're not just floating on top, and you're not just slamming the gears. You're doing this crazy shit. 4-stroke, it's kind of lazy. You're just pinned. Okay, I'm just gonna ride the whole track in third. Okay, hit fourth. Slow corner might go down a second, but a freaking 2-stroke at 125, you're like 6th gear, first gear, 6th gear, first gear. It's just ridiculous. But my point is, with that long-winded answer, is that you have the manufacturers pressuring the series to not allow the Stark to be able to be raced at the professional level. And so Taddy is tired of it, right? And he makes, in my opinion, this is just the last straw. And this was him basically showing his emotions live, and that's just what happened, right? and that's unfortunate. But at one point, we are going to see, and I hope Stark lives to see the rest of the bikes have it, because Honda's going to come out with a bike, Yamaha's going to come out with a bike. I mean, for crying out loud, at the Supercrosses, the cute little kids on the KTMs, they're not running gas bikes, they're running electric bikes. So anyone that says that they're not going to be around is, in my opinion, just ignorant, right? Because the new consumer is the 5-year-old that's on the KTM on the track on an electric bike, the Stasics and whatever. So they're going to grow up with electrics, and then what are they going to buy? They're going to buy electric, just as the same statistics are. Whatever credit card you have first, whether it's MasterCard or Visa, you have something like a 90% chance of continuing with them. Like, oh no, I can't have American Express because I first had a Visa, and that's just can't do it, right? It's psychology. And you think big corporations like Honda, Suzuki, well, maybe not Suzuki, because Suzuki, they're having their own issues, but power to Ken for finally having a factory transmission and probably factory ECU. He's doing well. But anyway, I'm more digressing. I'm cracking myself up here. The point is, they know about this. They've got money and research behind. They've got market analytics on know what to do. So those bikes are here to stay. And truthfully, with ending this story, I hope Taddy stays around and this is not retirement for him, because he's been one of those guys like Billy Bolt that is just fun to F and watch, right? Just fun to F and watch. And truthfully, guys, more than likely my next bike is probably going to be an electric bike, because I want to just go F and ride my dirt bike and then put it away when I'm done. I don't want to constantly be taking it into the shop, right? So it makes my life easier. And yeah, I think I can get over not using the clutch and shifting. That is something that is dear to my heart, where I feel like it's taking away. But if you look at where the sport is going, now we have traction control, and now you have a metal gate, so you have supreme traction no matter what, and now you have your little ECU with your RPMs up, so doesn't matter. And the ECUs themselves are just pinned, and I've made videos on it before where these guys can just be pinned, and that motorcycle is not going to go over a certain RPM, and then as soon as the clutch is released, it has like 2/10 before it goes into the factory race ECU. It's just evolution, right? Just evolution. No more missed shifts on the big triples. Oh, scary, scary, scary. So with that, let's move on. And where am I going with here? Oh, I guess we'll move with this, right? This was Avery Long and Talon Hawkins with the AEOs. Avery Long, got to give it up to Michael Lindsay for letting this guy go from the futures, getting him a break with AEO. And unfortunately, he ate shit, and he hit his head, but nothing is super bad. Like at first from the LCQ, I thought there was something messed up with his back. I have a look at it here. I had these in order, right? But gosh dang it. Nope, that's the wrong one. There we go. Yeah. This was with the race that had the red flag. And truthfully, I'm going to say, is this rider error? I'm going to say more so this is the lack of having the A-kit suspension on stuff, because I can't slow this down at the moment, but he just cases the standard little triple and bike rebounds and wheels are off the ground, and he's hitting the next jump so fast that then he just gets bucked, right? These second tier teams and these privateers, they have to be so incredibly precise. Nothing against the factory guys, right? Nothing against them. But there's something to be said about having a motorcycle that you can trust. You can trust. You go through the whoops, and that sucker goes do, 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 and you survive. And if that motorcycle saves your ass 10 times in a row, you're going to trust it more. But if you're riding a bike that doesn't have quite the level of, I would say, equipment, you're going to be tentative the next time you go around because you're going to be like, oh man, I managed to save it once, but twice, woo, whoo, whoo, whoo. You know, my lives are running out. I mean, for crying out loud, Jason Anderson, maybe not best analogy or comparison is with him having ripped spokes, was able to survive and get on the podium, a week ago. So again, right, just to reiterate, you take a top level guy, you put him on second tier equipment, he's probably still going to perform pretty well, right? Just because of how talented he is and the experience he has. However, you take a privateer guy that has good skills, but hasn't been exposed to top tier equipment yet, he's eventually going to start doing really effing well too, right? Just plain Jane truth. I'm here to just tell you the truth. And thanks everybody for joining the live show. And if you're here, make sure you hit that like button because it has the YouTube analogy. It pushes us out to more people and it helps myself. So I appreciate you guys for doing that. But here, let's look at the other crash from Hawkins. And this is the same thing, right? Ooh. And I believe he's got a broken femur, right? And what is this? This was him seat bouncing the hell out of that KTM, and he just falls off the back of it. So this is more of a rider error than the suspension that I would say that happened with Long. Long, I think that he possibly could have been able to save it with a little bit better equipment, right? Just a freak accident. Here, just too much preload, too much seat bounce. He's just Superman's ride off the bike, right? You could argue that maybe that motorcycle is too fast, and so it just ripped the bike out from under him. But I'm going to go with that he just preloaded it too hard because that was a big triple in that everybody was doing, and they had to push really effing hard to do so. So backing up a little bit, I want to talk about this individual right here, Acosta. Phenom little SOB that was racing for Red Bull Gas. And we all know, right, who's the guys that own Red Bull Gas, the Pierre Mobility Group, the hierarchy of KTM and Husky. Well, he is potentially going to end his contract with KTM, right? Because he believes that the financial situation is jeopardizing the team's sporting project in MotoGP, particularly the future of him. He doesn't have time to waste another couple years on a bike that's inferior, because what has KTM actually said? KTM has been open about that they are not going to do any R&D on their MotoGP bike. Well, that's not good, right? The premier race series of motorcycle racing, Ducati's just going to win everything. I hope Aprilia, with their new number one under him with Martin, hope they're going to spend a shit ton of money to try to make that individual happy. Because truthfully, at that level of racing, all these guys can win, right? I mean, Nicky Hayden won, and then all of a sudden he was hard to be inside the top 10. Not saying that he's not talented. Again, not saying that. Just saying that there's a lot that goes on with these motorcycles, with aerodynamics and testing wise. I mean, look at F1. These guys turn around, they get a good ride with Red Bull, and all of a sudden they're third every weekend, right? But if they're on the Hans team, they're lucky to break the top 10. There is something about financial stability with stuff. So again, hoping KTM is going to be good. And guys, I would not be surprised if Acosta jumps ship, goes with somebody else. And I wouldn't be surprised if, again, Ducati takes Sexton away from his contract. That somehow, I've heard, right, allegedly, he's been trying to get out of his contract. Why would you do that? Same effing reason. Same effing reason. What else do I have on here for today's show? Oh, speaking of Sexton, thank effing God that Dylan Ferrandis is good on a motorcycle. Oh my gosh. We almost saw just another Trey Canard incident, which is horrible. And guys, if I offend you with how I'm talking, I don't care. Sorry. That's just me. You see me in the pits. That's how I'm going to talk to you in real life. My analytical videos, I'm very precise, and I'm being a tutorialist. I'm teaching, right? My live shows, no. Live shows, you're just going to get my personality for sure. But watch this. Okay, can we pause it? So Sexton goes from the inside and doesn't jump it. Dylan Ferrandis sees an opportunity. He probably thinks that Sexton is going to jump, and he, in the air, almost jumps off the track, puts himself in jeopardy because he doesn't want to kill Sexton and also kill himself over a 75-foot triple. Look at that. He is landing off, and Sexton is looking behind. And, this is one of those things where, like, you're a new driver, right? And you're learning how to drive. And, when you look to see if somebody is in the left-hand lane, you look and you end up turning to the right. That's exactly what Sexton does here. Is he's looking to the left and he drifts wide, almost to the point where he does get landed on. Oh my goodness. And Dylan ends up almost killing himself with the tough blocks, but scary, scary, scary for that to happen. And just, truthfully, having a triple this far out from the main start, I think was a good idea. But at some point we are going to see stuff like this. And truthfully, I do like how the tracks, and make sure you guys stay tuned because tomorrow I'm going to break down A2. And honestly, I'm going to go to Glendale the next weekend. So I got to get my flights and everything on there. But remember how we used to have problems where you have starts that were into straight 90s into rhythm sections. And that's when you saw lots of crashes. I don't believe there's any 90-degree corners right after the start this season because they're learning. Same thing with the whoop sections, but there's 2 whoop sections in A2. So I'm super stoked about that. But thank goodness, I said it with A1 with Jason Anderson, and Jason Anderson has 8 lives left after his spoke incident. Well, now Sexton has 8 lives left because of this deal. Here, we'll watch it one more time. Gate Drop MX, thanks for posting it too. A few different people have posted it, but oh my goodness. Oh, dude, watching that just was scary. Oh, you're going to Glendale. If you see me, come say hi. Tag me in it. I'll share it on my story as well. Okay. And this is also what I wow. Oh my God, dude. Wow. Holy crap. Need to turn
of those main events. You can see how important it is to get out to an early start. That all took a disastrous turn. You're going to see Jo Shimoda catch an errant.
Boom. And that's him hauling butt. And look at his hands here. Let me zoom in. Plus. Yeah. Old man Hopper here. Let's just turn this into big effing lettering. Okay, 2 broken fingers. And this is scary because if you think about it, right, this is on your clutch hand. How do you hold your clutch? Most guys either hold their clutches with 2 fingers, middle finger, or pointer finger, right? So what are you left to hold on to the bike? Truthfully, we all know that you hold on to the bike with your knees, right? And so you're loosey-goosey how you can hold on. You don't really need to hold on too tight, but most of the pressure is coming from these guys. But if these 2 are broken, what are you holding on with? This guy, maybe this guy, you're just over there. Ow, ow, ow. And honestly, I don't expect a pretty big result from Joe this weekend because this is still going to affect you. How he's going to ride, he's going to hold this guy off. It's not going to be squeezing onto the motorcycle, the grips hard. He's just going to have his hand kind of on there. So unfortunately, until a couple weekends go by, I believe this is going to hinder him for sure. However, the right cortisone shot and adrenaline, he may be able to surprise us. And Masterpool also broke some fingers. Yeah, and unfortunately, I called him Marchbanks in my last video. So I appreciate everybody that commented. And I made the silly mistake of calling Ty Marchbanks, right? So appreciate it. He will use his whole hand for the clutch, possibly, but you're not going to want to move these guys here. And all right, last couple itty bitty things is Ryan Breeze, with him on the same team as Vince Freeze with the MCR Honda. He's got a torn ACL, and you can ride with a torn ACL. You guys are saying that there's no drugs that are going to help with that, and you want to see Tomac run the 80 horsepower Stark Vark. That would be scary. That would be totally scary. You can ride with a torn ACL. Many guys have done it before. Stewart has done it. Gosh, Ryan Villapoto has done it. It just takes a couple. I mean, I've done it multiple times. It takes a couple weeks for your knee to stop swelling. But you can do it, but then you become real tentative you can't put your leg out. But a lot of guys nowadays are just riding on their toes with their knees in, so they're not having to stick out their leg. So that is my show. Again, guys, appreciate everybody that showed up for the live show for this weekend Moto. And make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification icon because I'm dropping the track video tomorrow. And yeah, appreciate all you SOBs, guys, knucklehead motorcycle racers. Till next time, this is Johnny Hopper. Yeah, Sprocket is annoyed as well. See you guys.